Well, hey, thanks for joining us here today. And if we have not had the chance to meet yet, my name is Jeremy. I get the honor of being the pastor here at Mosaic. Well, I don't know if you're like me, but I'm ready to get back to normal. I'm tired of so many of us struggling with pay cuts, with my friends losing their jobs, even though they've done nothing wrong, and with my friends that own companies that are having to let go of people because the money just isn't coming in. My friends that can't get jobs because the economy is struggling. I think we're all ready to get back to normal. But in light of what we've experienced and learned, that would be a shame, because there's a lot to learn about this new normal. You see, some new things may have been forced on us, and if we're wise, we're going to pause and we're going to ask ourselves, what have we learned through this time, and what do we want to carry forward? We're really asking, how can we be better for it? And if we don't stop and ask, we're going to forget. And that would be a shame, because you see, pain without gain is a shame. I think this is true in most areas of life. Normally, gain always comes with some sort of pain or sacrifice. If you look at a famous band or your favorite sports celebrity, almost all of them didn't become famous overnight. They spent years honing their skills before they were able to reap the rewards. And I realize this season is still painful for some people, and it may seem too early to learn from it. Yet, if we don't pay attention, we won't benefit from it. If we rush back to the old normal, we will miss the lessons we could have learned from this season. Have you ever seen what happens after a dog takes a bath? We dry them off, and then they head as fast as possible to the dirtiest place in your house, where they can just rub themselves all over the dirtiness and the mess. Maybe your marriage hit a rough patch, so you started making some changes and coming home earlier during this past few weeks. Things started getting better, so you began drifting back to your old ways. Or maybe you had a scary physical and your doctor warned you to make changes. So you dieted and you exercised for a month. But when you began feeling better and the threat was withdrawn, you drifted back to your normal behaviors. Why do we go to the brink of disaster to make changes we've known all along that we need to do? In order to gain from the pain, we have to be intentional. It's why I want to poke and prod a bit today, because aspiring to normal, honestly, is not very inspiring. How can we be better for it? We shouldn't let good things go to waste, and we really shouldn't let bad things go to waste either. We should learn from them, so it's not too soon to begin this discussion. Now is the time to take inventory and to ask two very important questions. And if you find the answers to these two questions, your life is going to be better for it. So pay close attention. These can change your life. What have I been doing that almost led to my undoing? That's a scary one to ask, but probably pretty obvious as well. And the second one is this: what should I begin doing that I should have been doing all along? These are both important questions you need to devote some time to, because if you get it right, your life is going to be changed for the better. Today, I want to discuss three areas to help you begin processing. It may feel too soon to talk about them, but it's not. We gain the most perspective when the pressure is on us. Next week, we'll talk about your superpower. It's that special ability that empowers you to do better for anything you face in life. For now, though, let's begin here. The first one is, how can you be better for it financially? What have you been doing that almost led, or perhaps has led, to your undoing financially? What financial habit caught up with you in this season? What do you wish you had been doing financially? It's time for us all to face up to two financial realities. And the first is this: I want is better than I owe. Isn't that the truth? It's better to go without things we don't need than to owe on things you don't need. The tension of I owe is worse than I want. And I think we have more temptation in that area than any other city in the world. We have just about every fancy thing that you can think of here in Dubai. It's just so show me city. And if we're not careful, we too are going to fall into this trap of owning things or owing on something we will regret later on in life. I recently saw a YouTube video where a financial guy was talking about the true cost of one of his friends buying a Tesla. We all love Tesla, and he went on to tell the story of where his friend was explaining to him just how excited he was with his new car. He took him for a ride, and he saw how quiet and futuristic everything was, and he felt special riding around in it. This financial guy, he began to tell how he was tempted to go out and buy one as well after that drive. He didn't need a new one. His old one was quite reliable and good, but he just wanted one, and he could afford it. But instead, he took that same $50,000 that it would take to buy a Tesla, and he actually went out and bought Tesla stock. And after a few years of the stock doing really well, he could have gone and bought a brand new Tesla free from all of his earnings off the stock. A financial hole is due in part to our lack of self-control. You might have thought before this crisis, if I only had more money. Maybe you're thinking now, I wish I had saved more money and exercised more self-control. Now is the time to learn this lesson, so you'll be ready for the future. This is what the author of Proverbs wrote. He says in Proverbs 25:28, like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control. Security, peace, prosperity, those are all represented by the city walls. And when they are broken, people in the city lose their safety and autonomy. A lack of self-control leads to a loss of control. So what do? You may have read or been advised that having 3 to 6 months of savings is a good idea. And if you had it, you would be better for it. So let's start now, and let's decide to begin building your financial reserves. Well, how can you be better for it financially? Well, if I could sum it all up, it would be this: save more, spend less, get out and stay out of debt. If this season has hit you hard financially, don't blame the virus or your boss or the economy. Now is the time to make decisions, so you never have to face this situation again unprepared. Take responsibility for your finances, exercise self-control, and prepare for the future. Take notes, make a plan, and decide to be better for it. If you want some more financial tips, go to our YouTube page. We recently interviewed Ian and Sarah, both really smart accountants who gave us some practical financial tips to help us get through this crisis. Well, that's the first one. The second question to ask is, how can I be better for it relationally? What have you experienced relationally? What do you want to carry into the future? I think we all have experienced the value of friendships during this time. Maybe you've gotten a lot closer to a friend or your spouse over the past few months. But maybe you discovered some unaddressed cracks in your marriage that the old normal allowed you to ignore. Maybe you've experienced a lack of common ground with your kids. And lockdown, it highlighted the good and the not so good relationally. If there are cracks in a relationship, rushing back to normal only ensures that the cracks will widen. So if you're in need of some resources to help your communication in marriage or just communication in general, please reach out to me. There's no shame in wanting to get better at communication. Me and Ella recently completed a course in it, actually. We didn't do it because we were having a problem. We did it because we wanted to get better. Relationship problems don't fix themselves. So before you point fingers, you need to own your piece, own your slice of the conflict pie. One of the things I've learned as a pastor is that there are always two sides to a story. Normally, the truth is somewhere there in the middle. Everything changes when you hear someone else's perspective. If you get this right, your COVID-19 story may be it was the catalyst that saved our marriage. Pay attention to this tension, and you'll be able to say it forced us to face what we had neglected. It was the catalyst for repairing my relationship with my son. It was the catalyst for repairing my relationship with my daughter. Relationally speaking, all this pain with no gain would really be a shame. The last question we're going to talk about today is, how can I be better for it personally? How are you doing internally? How is your worldview holding up? Do you find yourself asking questions you've never asked before? If you're not a particularly religious person, do you find yourself praying for the first time in a long time? Maybe you've looked for that long-lost Bible somewhere in the house. If you are particularly a religious person, did your faith hold up? Or is it being rattled? Did you discover your faith was more fragile than you imagined? Have you said, "Where's God? How could God? I thought God." Regardless of which side of the faith aisle you're on, pay attention to that tension. It could lead you to somewhere good and maybe somewhere better. If this season has rocked your world, your worldview, or your faith, you may be on the verge of something new or reminded of something old. If current events have left you wrestling with big God questions and that you thought you had left behind years ago, pay attention to it. You may rediscover your faith. If you're already a Christian, you may discover a better faith. You may finally give up your faith in the non-existent God who doesn't allow bad things to happen to good people. You may come face to face with God who allowed the worst possible thing to happen to the best possible person, his son. And he did that on your behalf. Let's make sure we are better for it. So here's our 3 questions we are asking this week. How can I be better for it financially? How can I be better for it relationally? And how can we be better for it personally? Pain without gain is a shame. So let's face and embrace these lessons of this season and the questions that have surfaced. Let's all decide that it's to be better for it. Let's not race off to the old normal. Let's not forget what we've learned or the perspectives we've gained. I have a suggestion to help you since it's easy to forget. I want to encourage you to create a way to remember. I want you to create a reminder. Find an object or a picture or create something that reminds you of this season and what you want to carry forward from it. Put it somewhere prominent where you'll see it, maybe on your fridge. Maybe it will be a reminder to slow down, to spend less, and to recognize who or what is most important. Perhaps you'll be reminded that you have more in common with other people than you thought. Let it remind you to write a better story going forward. When this is all over, that we will each have a story that is worth hearing and worth telling. So this week, take some time to answer 2 questions. How will I be better for it? And what will help me remember? Returning to normal or the new normal is probably right around the corner, and we're all looking forward to it. And if we'll get there soon enough, let's not miss this unprecedented and hopefully once in a lifetime opportunity to learn everything we can and gain perspective for the future. Let's not settle for merely getting through this. Let's decide to be better for it. Let me pray. Dear Jesus, I pray, God, that you'll help us to understand this, that you will help us to set aside set time aside to where we can internalize these questions and we can have conversations with our spouses. And God, I just pray that you give us all wisdom as we talk about this, as we think about what we could learn from the hard times that we are going through to make us better for the future. God, put wise people around our people, the people that are watching this. Help them to discuss it and to learn from it. And then give them the courage and the ability to take action on it. Help us to come out of this situation better for it. We pray this in Jesus' name. Well, next week we're going to talk about your superpower and how you can make sure that everything that comes your way makes you better. And so don't miss next week. Thanks for being here today.